Alright, so we've placed the columns. If we look at our 3D view, we've got our columns in there, and now what we want to do is place the beams in. So we're going to place these beams here. If we look at our section, it are these beams here. We're going to place these beams first, and we're going to place them on the top of beam level with the justification of the beam at the top. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to my level 2 here. And I'm going to make sure that in my view range that I have the view depth set to level 1 so I can see down below level 2. Cancel that, and I'm going to go to my wireframe. So that means I can just see through that floor that we created. Now those beams are going to go from this column to that column, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them across there. So at this point what I want to do is go to my beam command under structure, and we are going to use the W260 by 80 wide flange. And what you want to make sure is that the placement plane right here is set to top of beam, which is the one that we want. You can actually, if you want to set the structural usage, you can pick girder. That's not overly important. What you also want is a Z justification changed to top, which you can change at a different time, but that means it's going to use the top of the beam as the justification on the level, and it's going to go down below that. So once you have those set, you can just come in and draw in the beams. So what you want to do is just make sure you're snapping to the midpoint of, or the intersection of this grid, and draw over to that wall. And then come in and draw again there, and then draw again. Sometimes you may want to zoom in just to make sure you're getting the center. It probably will get the center, and then the final one here to here. Now, I'm not sure if those beams go all the way to that wall, but we're going to draw them that way for right now. So just to double check and see that they're in the right place, we'll double click on this section, and let's go take a look. Okay, it looks like they've set them right on the top justification, right, for this top of beam right here. Now if I were to pick this one and the justification was set to bottom, right, it'll re-justify that to the bottom of the beam. So you can very quickly reorient where your structure is being placed. Now the next thing we want to do is put the beams up top here, and we can do that very easily just by selecting the beam. So I'm going to draw a window box around these beams, and it's just selected those beams. I'm going to come up here to my clipboard, and I'm going to copy to clipboard, and you can do Control C if you wanted to as well. And once I copy those to my clipboard, I can go paste, and I can go align to selected levels. And we want to paste this to, it seems like it would make sense to do top of column and justify the bottom of them. But what I'm going to do instead, for a reason that we'll talk about later, is I'm going to paste them to level roof and leave it justified the way that it is. So I'm going to click OK. And you're going to see that it's going to drop those beams in, and they're actually hosted to level roof, not to top of column. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But if we go to our 3D view, right, there's those beams there. And if I view hide this, you can see the beams below, right? We could, I believe those beams go all the way through, but they may not. We could always adjust them later if we find out that it's a different grouping, but I believe they do, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divisions. And if we look at the exploded 3D view of this guy, which is here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divisions there. So I think we're on the right track. Okay. So when we come back, we'll put in the cross braces.